sisters, I just want to make another video here about the Torah and who we see in the Torah. Oh, isn't it awesome the way we can go back into the Word of God and we can see Jesus? And it's sad that some people would try to change that and give that glory to other people. But when we look at it, you know, our Lord, in the Old Testament, he was veiled in a mystery, it's called. It's similitudes, types and shadows. What it is he was hidden. And in the days of his flesh, as they say, when he came into this life, we can also see that he was veiled in flesh. So in the Old Testament, he was veiled in a mystery. In the New Testament, he was veiled in flesh. And having done that, see, people couldn't look upon his glory. You know, it was always written, you know, that we should walk by faith and not by sight. Now, if Jesus had came down as a great mighty leader, people would look by sight. They'd see a great king and they'd just follow him. But to come down as a mere son of a carpenter, someone who actually owned nothing, he had no house, you know, and he had no possessions. See, you have to be led of the Spirit to follow someone like that. Kind of like King David. If you notice, King David was anointed king while he was yet young. But he didn't come into a kingdom and just start ruling right away. Instead, what happened? Everything went wrong for him. Saul, he hated him. He chased him and tried to kill him. And we see where even his own son tried to take his kingdom. But see, the people, the common people followed him. They knew the king. You know, they could see in David that which they couldn't see in Saul. And when we see that, that's being led of the Spirit. And when we see that, we can also see how, just as Absalom tried to steal the kingdom from David, people have tried to steal the glory from Jesus. And it's sad, because that's what caused all this mess with Christianity. That's why they came out with so many different Bibles, rather than stick to the original translation from the Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic that the King James Bible has. When they made all them Bibles, that actually they removed Jesus from many places. And that's sad. But when we go back into the Torah, we can see it. I just want to share it one more time, a little bit more, just another aspect of it. When we look at, remember how it's written of Moses? And Moses said, a prophet, like unto me of your brethren, the Lord your God shall raise up, him shall you hear. Look at that prophet like unto Moses. You know, there's something about Moses that we see with Jesus that we don't see with Muhammad. You really stop and think about it. Now, once again, this is similitudes. This is parables, types, and shadows. That's where Jesus is veiled and hidden in a mystery. You notice Moses could not deliver the children of Israel while he was in the kingdom. When he was the son of Pharaoh's daughter, all that royalty, he couldn't deliver them. But what did he have to do? He had to be an example. He had to come down and humble himself to be like the people he would deliver. That's what Jesus did. He said, you know, though he found in that robbery to be equal with God, yet, you know, he took upon him the form of a servant. He humbled himself to death, even the death of the cross. We see this with Moses. This is so special. Because Moses, as basically the son of Pharaoh's daughter, which would be the son of Pharaoh. And, you know, once again, here's a type and shadow. Because Pharaoh, you know, kind of took him, you know, and adopted him, you know, because he was, you know, the son of his daughter. And we can see adoption through that, just as Pharaoh's daughter adopted Jesus. You know, we can see how, the spirit of adoption that the Apostle Paul spoke of. But getting back to Moses and how he delivered to people, when he was still in royalty, as they say, he went down to try and deliver them, and he smote an Egyptian, but they just didn't believe him that he was going to deliver them. See, when you see someone who's in a high position like that, there's that lack of trust. And that, this was supposedly like Pharaoh's, grandson. And he's going to deliver people. And you look at these things, and you stop and you think about that for a little bit here. And naturally they're not going to trust him. But when Moses fled, and then for 40 years, he kept Jethro's sheep, and you can see how Jesus, he said, I'm the good shepherd, and he kept the sheep, the flock of God. Well, anyway, when Moses came back, he didn't come back as the grandson of Pharaoh. He didn't come back, as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He came back, as one of them. Matter of fact, in one place it's even written, Pharaoh said to him and Aaron, he said, get you back to your labors. You don't, see, Hollywood doesn't do that. Remember them old movies? In them old movies like Ten Commandments, they always show Moses comes out of the wilderness and he confronts Pharaoh and that, and the great signs and wonders, which were true, he did them, but they always put him on this pedestal like bigger than life. He was equal to Pharaoh and confronted him to the face, and that he did, he wasn't afraid of Pharaoh. But look at what he did. Pharaoh said, get you back to your labors. He actually became as one of the Hebrew slaves. Not the high and mighty position that the movies would make him look like. But he came and he was like one of the Hebrew slaves. And being like them, and he was just like the way Jesus came down here. See, just as he was veiled in a mystery, he came down here veiled in flesh. He could stand right before people. They couldn't even see the glory of God. They couldn't see the express image of God. He'd stand right before them, and they thought of him as nothing more than Joseph's son of a carpenter. They saw him as nothing but a poor man. And when they saw that, they couldn't honor it because they weren't led as a spirit. They were judging by sight. They didn't walk by faith. They walked by sight. And when he'd do a miracle, then he would anger them because he was afraid that, they were afraid that, the Romans would believe on him. And in believing in him, that they would lose their place in the nation. So when we see these things, once again, this prophet like unto Moses, and there are so many other things that I can mention down the road further. But from the Torah, when we see Moses, we see a prophet like unto him. We see Jesus. He left all glory, just as Moses did. He veiled himself in flesh to be like us, like the very bride he'd redeemed. Just as Moses became like a servant, a slave, so did Jesus. And we see that just as Moses did all them miracles, Jesus did many miracles. See? And we don't see that recorded of Prophet Muhammad. There's no recording of him doing any miracles. But yet Moses did the miracles and Jesus did the miracles. And we see that Jesus is the one who actually came down to be like his brethren. He left royalty to come down to be like you and I. That's where our humility comes in. Sisters, that veil means so much more, And then Jesus veiled himself in flesh. And then I wish that more sisters would take on the humility and choose to do like the Lord did, do like Moses did. You know, humility rather than pride. And you know, when you actually look at it like that, you know, see, it says God resists the proud but gives grace unto the humble. And when we see these things, how Moses humbled himself to be like his brethren, Jesus, he humbled himself to be like his brethren, like the bride he redeemed. That's so special. And when we get down to it, the Lord does honor the humble. I enjoy preaching as a man. I enjoy preaching boldly. But if doing this to be an example of what Jesus did for us would save sisters if they could see the importance of humility, the importance of the veil, the importance of training their daughters to be wives and mothers. You know, God's given us each in nature. You can see it in little girls. Little girls, you know, they'll love to wear dresses, and some of them even like to wear veils and gloves, and we see that, but society's changed it. And when we see it, mothers, they want to right away make their daughters be like little boys, and dress them like boys and get them to, oh, you got to be like a boy to be special, you know, or be equal. Equal doesn't mean the same. And we see this, well, you know, Paul said, does not nature teach us? We have a natural trait as male and female. And it'd be better just let the little girls be the little girls that they want to be. Don't try to make boys out of them. One daughter even asked her mother, she says, why are there no female soldiers in G.I. Joes? Because women ain't supposed to be soldiers. Women are supposed to be wives and mothers. This is the confusion that we brought about when we removed distinction of the sexes. And it's part of the reason why we have people who don't know what sex they are. It's part of the reason why we have, you know, transgenders, transsexuals. People have no sound role model as a masculine father or a feminine mother. And you see, that's where humility comes into, and being what God made us. Yes, you know, I enjoy, you know, manly things. I enjoy, you know, the things that men do. But sometimes you have to actually consider humility. And what's more needful for others? It was more needful that Moses humbled himself to be like his brethren. It was more needful that Jesus humbled himself, veiled himself, to be like the bride he'd redeemed, like men and women. And if it's more needful for me to do this for sisters' sake so they can see it as an example, then so be it. Then I'll do it. If not, so be it. You know. But I prefer that all sisters would see Jesus from the Torah, first 5 books of the Bible. Behold who he is. And you'll see that when we actually go into them first 5 books, they all come back to Jesus. They don't come back to me or you or even the Prophet Muhammad. They come back to Jesus. That's what's important. He says he's not going to share his glory with anyone else. So why should we try to steal his glory? Why should we demand that we be seen when in actuality he should be seen in our lives? That's how we should be a light in darkness. Not trying to be like the darkness. Sisters, if you're watching this, you have any questions, feel free to ask. If I can answer them, I'll try. If I can't, then so be it. You know, I'll at least be honest enough to say I don't have the answer. But if you do, please ask. I hope and I pray something out of it if you watch it. And I hope and pray you can see Jesus from the Torah. And that's what's important. Let us see Jesus and not ourselves. And remember, in the Old Testament, he was veiled in a mystery. In the New Testament, he was veiled in flesh. Let us not strive to be seen, but let us strive so that others see him. Let us be that light in darkness so that others can behold the light of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ.